Okay, welcome everybody to another CTC software webinar. Today we're going to be talking about Clash Seeker. It's one of our newer tools, and we're going to show you a little bit how it works today. So my name is Tony Crick. I'm the Civil Product Manager here at CTC Software. As we go through the webinar here today, I encourage you to ask questions. We will try to get to them during the broadcast. Otherwise, we'll certainly address them afterwards. And shortly after the presentation today, this will be available on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching our YouTube channel and you want to watch these live, you can go to our website and sign up for our events there in our events page, so you can always be aware of new and upcoming webinars. So with that, let's jump into this. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our project suite of tools, and in particular, Clash Seeker. Our project suite is intended for the everyday Civil 3D user creating design and production drawings, and we'll work back to a version that's an incorrect slide, 2021 now, as we recently released 25 and 25.1. So I would encourage you, if you update, if you're using 2020, then I wouldn't update to 25 just yet, because we don't support beyond 2021. So today we're going to talk a little bit of how we can discover and identify clashes within your drawing set using Clash Seeker. So the civil industry has sort of neglected that for a while, and now there is some stuff out there for it, but it's pretty limited. So Clash Seeker will help us find discrepancies between just about anything. So today we're going to talk about identifying clashes between drawing entities. We're going to talk a little bit about how to optimize clash detection workflows and enhanced product coordination and efficiency, and thereby proactively preventing errors before they get to the fields. So why Clash Seeker? Well, as mentioned before, it's a little more robust than the native tools in that we can compare many different things. If you're familiar with CTC tools, it has our same comfortable interface. And with this, there's really virtually no learning curve to it. And as mentioned, we can find and compare almost anything in conflict and identify them before they get out in the field where they can be causing problems. And we can also export to Excels to generate reports and review status. And we can also know if the clashes are up to date with a little last run column and some other things in there. And we can also drop points within the drawing with the information we choose. And those use the styles you already have in your drawing. So if you want something specific, you can go ahead and make that. And then, as I said, we can generate Excel spreadsheets. Then we can save our clashes, the ones we use often, and just be able to load those and move on. And then when we do find clashes, we can zoom to them to see what they might be and then help us in the resolution of those problems. So with that, let's jump into the drawing and see what this thing is about. Okay, so here we have sort of a typical layout of a road, short demo thing with some pipe networks in here. Got sanitary. We've got storm. And you can also see that down here. So typically to do this, we would probably use our object viewer, right? So we would, in a situation where they cross like this, so we've got a gas line here, we've got a sanitary crossing right there. Let me change that style so we can see that easier. So we've got a sanitary, got a lot of things going on right there. So we did the design, right? So we came through and we compared these. Hopefully they're not clashing, and we would have to grab all of these as a network individually, whatever, and then go to our object viewer and then roll it around. And again, it's a little hard to maneuver that. It looks like it's probably clear. So we'd have to check some elevations, maybe some slopes, things of that nature. But with Clash Seeker, we can run these against each other to see pretty quickly. And we can do this with the whole network. We can do this. Let me change that one too. We can do this by parts. So we don't have to necessarily do the whole network. We certainly could. That will take a little bit more time if we want to do all these crossings at once, or we can just check these crossings individually. So let's do a couple of pipe clashes here. Let's see how these things, if we have clearance here. Maybe we might have minimum clearance also between a water and a sanitary, or even a storm and a sanitary. So we can do this in a lot of different ways here. We can do this vertically, we can do this crossing wise. So to do that, we open up Clash Seeker. You know, just give me just a second here. I'm realizing that this screen might be a little hard to see with that gray background. So let me just change my profile real quick. Oh. Okay, hopefully that's a little easier to see, a little darker background. So let's open up Clash Seeker then. It's in our project suite, as I mentioned. We have a number of functions here. So the regular Clash Seek, then we can update our points after things clash. And we can update our Clash table if we choose to put a table in there. So as we open up Clash Seeker, it looks like this, like many of our other tools. So we can go to our options page. And this will remember the size and position of it. So if we have templates, this is the path that it goes to by default. If you wanted to change that to any other thing, you could grab that right here. As you see, there's some other things that we've tagged into that location. And then we have the precision of our table and our form, how we want that to look. Our decimal character, set that. Our digit grouping, our comments. And then our export settings. What do we want in our export settings when we export that? We open this up and we can choose any one of these. I'm going to leave this with all checked. And also, if we want to give these different names, we can double click on that and we can enter anything we want here. So a lot of customization built into it. And we could call this, we could even change these sources if we wanted to from this column up here. And then if we want to put in a table, so that would be reflective in our Excel and our table. And then we can choose the table that we want right here. And that all comes from our tool space, whatever you have in there. And then we have our capitalization. Other things we want to include with this are right there. And if we put points on there, we set this right here. And it's the same, all the same selections if we want to change any of those. I'm going to add the status there. So you see it went to the list right there. And we can sort these too, however we want. If I wanted the status under the name, then I just push that up as so. And then this is for our point style itself. You could use anything you already have. I'm going to leave it at the default basic. And then our label style. Again, any style that you have created in there, you can choose here for when they go in. I'm going to leave it at this one as I've got set up. Uppercase, the layer, I'll leave it on Ciano, and the orientation. And then you could select units for suffix and prefix. I'm going to leave those both selected and move on. So that's how we set it up. And if we want to save one of our clashes, we go here. If we want to open and load a clash that we've already got, so I've got a couple of them in here. If we want to do a gas to surface, I could just load that, and it comes preloaded. So this gas line right here, it already knows that's there because I selected it. So if I wanted to check that from the surface, see where it lands, I could load that right there. And I wouldn't have to do anything before I run it. I could just straight up run it. So if I wanted to check that, oops, I was going to delete that so we could set up a new one. Let me delete that one. So if I wanted to check that these pipes as we talked about before, so I want to see, does this meet my clearance, whatever it is, and I can even find out how close they are. So let me make a new one. So we just simply start by hitting the plus right there. Let me move this a little off to the side and adjust that settings right there. So our clash set, so what do I want to call it? Let's call this one Storm to San. To Sanitary. Let's do it by station. So we know where it is. We know it's a lat. Let me add that in here. So you can put whatever you want here. Storm lat to sanitary. And I'll say station. Looks like roughly 13 plus 50. So then we need our sources, and we have a number of sources and the things that we can compare them to. So whatever we pick for either one of our sources is going to kind of limit what we can look against. So we can do alignments, blocks, feature lines, lines and arcs, parcel segments, all the way down to including pressure networks. So let's just do pipe network. This is going to be a pipe network to pipe network. So then I select that, and then I have to go get what I want it to look at. So that's right here. So I could do this by the whole network, simply by grabbing that, and it would grab the network. I could enter that in there. But as I mentioned before, we don't necessarily want to compare all 49 at a time when we're focusing on this little segment right here. So with that, I can come in and I can grab them, and we could go by layer, layer description, object name, any one of these that you wanted to grab. This object name should do the same thing as the storm network. Nope, it's just pipe 4, so I could have done it that way. 2. So I'm going to grab this one for the storm. We want to do that first, that's in our name. So I'm going to do this storm right there. And I could have done it, it's probably pipe 4. I don't know that because it's not labeled, but I'm going to grab it that way. I'm going to say, okay, it populates right here. I'm going to do the same thing for the sanitary. So you see the list kind of narrowed down here now to the things we can compare a pipe network to. So we can compare a pipe network against blocks, against other pipe networks, points both COGO and survey, any solids that we might have. We could check it for a surface depth, see if it's at the right depth, which we can also do with our pipe designer tool, pipe planner tool, excuse me, right there. So let's go grab that. So let me set this to networks, pipe networks, and select the filter box again, our filter option. Again, I could do that the same ways, but I'm really only interested in this particular crossing right here. So I've got that one right there. And here's what I mentioned before, talk about when was it run? Do we know if it's up to date? So right now I've just opened it, so it says never. After I run it, we're going to get some statuses down here. And then we go to our settings tab. This is where things happen. And again, depending on what we chose, we can get a vertical, we can get a above and below. For this one, it's going to go in a 360 degree around there. And I want to include proximities. I'm going to set this buffer to something crazy here. Let's just say 10. I'm going to guess it's not that far, but it will tell us where they are. So if I say yes, and then some of these will take a little bit longer to run. For presentation's sake, I'm not going to do surfaces because those do take longer to run. But just be warned. And you will get a warning for it too. If I, for instance, if I did say surface, I get right there. Well, that's a reset. So if I'll get a warning similar to that. So it's going to tell me that, told me that if you're changing it, it's going to update all of this. But it's going to warn you. So if you are going to run surfaces, just know that it will take a little bit more time. So that we got our settings all set, we're compared. Again, our 10-foot buffer, then I hit run. So as we see, we get a status down here, tells us it's preparing. So it's going and it's finding those parts, and now it's looking and it's going out incrementally, and this one found nothing within that buffer. Let me try again. There. So it was pretty far apart. So we had plenty of clearance. So it found that they cross right here at 12:05. And here's my status. It's new right there. With this, then I can also zoom to the clash. Well, we said to find those clashes quickly. So we know that the crossing is right in here somewhere where that proximity is. It's going to find the midpoint. And at this point, I can dump a point on there too if I find something that might be in violation. I can also highlight them. So it shows me which ones are crossing. It's these two right here. And then if I go to grab this and put a point on there, it gives me these options again that we set to begin with if you wanted to change anything. So if I just say okay right here, it drops that point style where the clash took place. So the point is actually going to go midway between where the two clashes are. So at 12:05, that's probably pretty good. I can go ahead and say that's approved, that's okay. I could also say that it's already been reviewed in case someone else wanted to look at it. And then I can close, and you see the point drops in right here. Here's that name, Clash 1, that I put on there. And it tells us a lot of information right here. My clash set name. So it says the status is new. If I updated that, so I resolved it, I can update the clash point. And now it says reviewed. So if you wanted to pick through these and clean them up, that would be the way to do it right there. So what are some other things we can do with this? That's probably the most common one we would do. Let me see, I think I have some other solid one. See if this has this solid. Yeah, okay. So we have a couple of solids right here as well. For whatever reason, if you were doing a boring or what have you, and we want to see if this gas line crosses these solids within whatever we call for our buffer right there. So I realize this is not really representative of the real world. It's just to show you. So if we look at that in our object viewer, we're going to see that that goes right on through there. So we can also see where I've got the section cut, how those run there. So we see that that runs, that gas line right there runs right through it. So if we drew a whole bunch of these, and obviously you'd see that gas line, but if they came in later, whatever, we could run all of our gas lines against this. So if I come in back into my Clash Seeker again, and when you do this, by the way, it's going to, if you just click this, it's going to go to the last one you selected. So if you open it up and you ran the update, it's going to go by default to update. So I do the pull down and I want to open up a new clash set. So here are some of the clashes that have already been run on this. And I could rerun these to see what's happening here. Solid to surface. This is what I was talking about. Might take a little bit more time. So there's a new one ready to go here. Let's just call it a gas check. So I want to come in here and I want to grab this feature line. And then, like I said, if we wanted to check all gas lines against solids or whatever, the surface, you would grab that right there. I'm going to check it against these solids. Are they blocks? Let's try those blocks. I thought they were solids. Hang on a sec. Clear that. I'm going to grab this one. So solids to solids, I guess I can compare those two solids. Can't do that as a feature line, apparently. Thought I could, bad example. Let's just do it solid to solid, these two. Because really, I really want to show you is what a hard clash looks like. So I'll grab this one. Let me go back, make sure I grab the other one. Okay, got that one. My example here, I just really want to show you a hard clash, what that looks like. So if I tell it to not do that, my buffer is 0 and I run it, I should get a hard clash, which I did right away. It found it. It's not really a gas check. But there's my distance right there. So we know it's a hard clash. We know those two hit, which we could see just by looking in plan. So that's my other example. We also have the pipe to solid. So let me run one of those that we already have in our clash set. So let me open this again. So this is, I'm only looking for hard clashes here. Okay, so it's at 0. And it said it had the one new one. I'm going to run this again because it's last run quite a while ago. And if we named our pipe networks the same and everything was the same, we would be able to, so again, it found the latest one and now it says it's active. It changed the status of it. So where is that one? So it's right there. So right here through these, the storm and the sanitary, that crossed right there. Let me squish this over. We don't really need that. So it's right there. It clashed right there. And how do we know for sure? Let's look at it in the object viewer. And indeed, we can, oops, let me bring it over here. And indeed, we can see that, yes, it definitely goes through there. And in which case, we need to do something about it. So if I click it again, and I say I want to export this, oops, did I hit the table? I think I hit the table. So there we've got the export out, and I'm going to call it storm hard with sand. And save it. And right away it opens it up right here so we can see what it is. We can turn that over to, if we're not the one making that decision, and for anybody else to see what that was. We can also dump it in a table. I'll do that with one where we get something else. So this one has procs. So this is the whole thing. Fewer parts on this one, the proximity. And it's 10. Apparently they've already been approved. Well, let's run it again. So again, we can open that up and see it's been run that long ago, and we know it's been approved. So we don't have to worry about that. Everything is good there. So it came up with one new active one, and that's that hard clash that we just ran. Okay, so if we open this up again and show you to save those out, like I said, this is pretty simple to understand, to use. Let me hit this one just to show you that table. It says it's out of date, or that the message we're going to get. So there's the message we're going to get. And I'm not going to do it because even though this is a small surface, I don't want to take that much of your time up today watching this green bar go across. But this will give you the status to do that. So if I wanted to save any of these out, if I did all these the same, so let's look at how we have this picked. So if it's a sanitary, and it's a storm, if that's what we always name them, you might call them P storm, whatever you might call it, or even by layer, if you did it all by layer every time, then we could just save it right here. We hit the save button, and we can call it, what did we have? Was it sanitary to storm or storm to sand? So sanitary, storm, and we're looking for hards on this one. So if I do that and I save it, and I close it, and I come back to, say, this one, I can then just load that one in, and I shouldn't have to do anything because I believe they're, let's look at that. I believe they're named the same. So if I look at my networks over here, so I call them the same name. So it's coming right from there. So if I come back in here and I load this, I go to the Open tab right here, and I come get it, this one that we just did. Open that up, and it already shows it's populated. So it knows it's going to compare all of these and find anything that's hard in this case. So I'm going to run it. And this will take a few more seconds because of all the parts that we're getting. But again, we get the preparing down here as it's checking everything. And it's looking for all of the other ones that are crossing it. So it says it's ready. So it ran through its check right there and found nothing. So that's good. We did that. We've compared them. We know we're good to go, and we can move on with our design. So I think that's really about all I had to show you guys today. It's a pretty powerful tool. Again, if you're comparing, if you're trying to look for, as we had in some of these other ones, I don't have these loaded up, but I think we had a remove light pole if they're within something. I don't know what those settings are. It was from way back, ran in December. If we wanted to run those, we could also do right-of-way checks for some of these things if we had light poles, or let me come to this one. Oops, not that one. Well, if we had light poles that were, let me open this. I have another one here. Let me open this one. So if we want to compare, let's just say light poles to an alignment, are they in the right place? Are they within the right of way? Oops, I grabbed the wrong one, looks like. Let me grab this one. Let me do that again. Jumped on me. So if we open up this drawing, I think there's some light poles. There are. Okay. So we already know we labeled them. We know where they're at, but if we just want to make sure they're within the right of way of the alignment, we could do that with these blocks. So that's a block, as we see. And then this alignment, I will do that just to show us. So let's say this is, I don't even know, 30 foot, 33 foot right of way. So that's when I would set my buffer. So I'm going to add a new one here. Lights in the right of way. So first thing I'm going to check is the blocks. And I'm going to do this one by layer. They should all be on the same layer. Probably also the same object name. Let's check that. So all light poles, again, we're getting our update. There's 7 of them. So as long as you're being consistent, everything is done uniformly. We can use those multi-feature or filters. So if I come here and I select the alignment, I'll do it by object name again. So that's our alignment. And if I set my buffer to, I'm going to ignore Z. We don't care about it. In this case, what I was mentioned before, some of these values change. 33. Okay. Let's run it. I think I do have a couple of other light poles, so everything is good to go with that one as well. So with that, that's all I had to show you today. I hope you are seeing the value in Clash Seeker and you can get it out there and put it to use for yourselves. So again, it's part of our CTC Sim project suite, and we're currently at version 25.1, which again, I said will support Civil 3D back to version 2021. And how do I know if I have, or what version I'm running? I should show you that too. Let me jump back into the drawing to show you. In case you don't know, we also have our 14-day trial for those of you that aren't using it, but you will get the latest. So it says right here which one we're on. So if we don't have it and we're in 2021 or newer, it will work in there fine, seamlessly, no worries. You just click this button to get there. So we also have our Sim Manager Suite, which is more for CAD managers and those supporting a CAD team. So if you don't have it and you'd like to get it, you contact your local reseller. If they don't offer it, you can contact us here at ctcsoftware.com. And always, if you have any ideas or need any help, contact us here at support. We build our tools from suggestions by you and for you to make your workflows easier. So with that, I thank you for taking the time out of your day today and hope to see you at the next CTC webinar.